Everybody find a seat, get comfortable. Make sure you got that coffee going on because I'm going to talk for a long time. It's going to be important stuff, and there will be a test later. My name is Alex Phillips. I am the president of the Wireless ISP Association. I'm also an operator in Harrisonburg, Virginia, Rural Broadband Network Services, also known as High Speed Link. Today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the state of WISPA, talk to you about what's going on with WISPA, and a little bit about how we operate. I want to thank everybody, welcome you all. Another record-breaking year of attendees, plus 1,300. Thank you. Thank you all. Some highlights of stuff going on this week. We've got representation of 18 countries here and 48 states. We got to talk to Rhode Island and Delaware and get them to the show next year. So if you know them, make a phone call. Some important things going on today that I recommend you see. The Spectrum update today at 2. Show and how this show is different than lots of other technology trade shows that we've been to. We're all in the technology business, but here at WISPA Palooza, you learn everything from HR all the way up to RF planning. So we try to cover the whole spectrum there, so to speak, of things you need to know for your business. Tomorrow, we're going to have a award reception. We're going to recognize folks that are important to our organization, people that have done stuff, people that are important to your neighbors, to your coworkers, and that kind of stuff. I also want to make a quick announcement for the vendors that there is a lounge at the Lambada for you to go hang out and decompress from all the questions you get. WISPA is growing. Grow every day. Grow thanks to the people in this room, board members, staff, everybody. We've got 151 new principal members this year and 44 new vendor members. Also this year, we got some new board members, and I would like to ask them all to stand up as I call them. Daniel White, is over here. Blair Davis. Blair, back in the back, thank you. And Brian Young, up here in the front. All new board members. They didn't know what they signed up for, but now they do. Thank you. Also, returning board members, Chuck Hogg is our vice president. Stand up. Dennis Burgess, who's our secretary and who is recording the show today. Mark Rodabaugh, right here, treasurer. Forbes Mercy. Forbes, he's busy doing something important, I'm sure. And Nathan Stuke, who you all know, runs this show for us. And myself there, last but not least. Thank you. A little bit about our staff. Many of you know Trina Coffey, Director of Operations. Ariel Coffey, our Administrative Assistant and does our billing. And Veronica Perrin. And I want to give a special thanks to Trina and her staff, as well as Nathan Stuke and the Agenda Committee for making this a great show. Also, all the board members who were here early this week and all the other volunteers who came, stuffed bags, set things up. I want to thank you all for making this a great show. And we got Trina right here walking up the center. Y'all all give her a big wave. Hey, Trina, how you doing? We also have contractors that make WISPA work. Suzanne Urash, who does our media, press releases, things like that that promote our industry, promote what we're doing at WISPA. Steve Curran, who is our DC counsel, helps with FCC filings and all the stuff we do at the FCC. Someone new, a new face, I don't know if y'all have seen him, Ari Storch over there, our lobbyist. And I guess you all recognize this guy. This is Jack Unger. He's been with WISPA since the Stone Age. He knows everything about it. He's our FCC technical consultant. I want to thank all you guys for helping out and everything you do. All right, let's talk a little bit about the organizational structure of WISPA. Organizations have to have good structure, otherwise they're not really organized. So here is how WISPA is organized, with Trina there at the top. She's in charge of all things, and then the board of directors are me and Chuck there, and the rest of the board and committee members. And well, you see how it all flows, right? Down. Actually, when you think about your industry today, you know, all you guys are out there by yourselves. Sometimes you think it's impossible, but really, when we get organized, we can do a lot of things, just like in this picture. So here's actually how the organization is structured. The board of directors up there at the top, we sort of look at the vision of our industry. We keep an eye on what's going on, and we kind of try to make sure that we keep, you know, these shows and what our direction is regarding the DC and other things we do for our members on track. Trina is Director of Operations. She handles basically day-to-day operations. So when you ever have a question about something, you call Trina. She usually helps you out. The administrative assistant, Ariel Coffey, is in charge of handling billing and various other tasks throughout the day. And a new person, Veronica Perrin, who's now in charge of sales and marketing for WISPA. If some of you may have talked to her and found out about this show, they're the core of our organization. They handle things on a daily basis. And so really, you know, without them, we can't do anything. The committee chairs, which I'll go into a little more detail later, they work with our contractors. So our contractors are heavy hitters. They're the people that, you know, are experts in industry. They're experts in media relations, lobbying, FCC regulations. The committee chairs report directly to the board. Most all of them are board members except for two, which I'll go into some more detail here in a few minutes. They work for us on a daily basis, but we usually just meet with them once a week to talk about things, projects, various things that we're trying to get done for the organization. And here's a little bit about the committee structure. So this was the first committee we formed back when Marlon was in charge. I think we were under attack from something, and so the birth of the first WISPA committee. But actually, we've got quite a few now. We start off here at the Budget Committee. Mark Rodaba, our treasurer, is the chair of that. Promotions Committee, Forbes Mercy. Agenda Committee, Nathan and Trina. Association Management Committee is Brian Young. Nominations Committee is Dennis Burgess. Bylaws Committee, also Brian. Government Affairs, myself. FCC Committee is Mark Rodaba. Legislative, Chuck Cogg and Elizabeth. State Coordinators, Jimmy Carr. I don't know if y'all met him, but he's not a board member, but he has been working with us on that activity. Industry Development, myself. Vendor Relations, Daniel White, and Membership Committee, Blair Davis. Let me kind of go into these. So basically, the Budget Committee is in charge of making sure that we pay our bills, we send out our bills get paid, gives us information about how we can budget our money from year to year, helps us understand our overall cash position to run our organization efficiently. And that committee is comprised of the chair, Mark Rodaba, and the two staff members. Promotions Committee is in charge of all outward bound promotions, whether we're coming up with a press release about something we're doing, whether we are promoting some new activity that WISPA is doing. The Promotions Committee is in charge of that. And we try to get a lot of professional involvement from our committee chairs as well as the contractors on that one. Agenda Committee, they make this show. Nathan's in charge of that. There's a bunch of volunteers that meet with Nathan and Trina on a weekly basis to work on the different sessions and activities that we do here at the show. Association Management Committee is relatively new over the past couple of years, and that's basically a committee that's designed, and their core function is to help the board decide, you know, what kind of staff, what kind of people we need, either long-term contractors, and make recommendations to the board as to different people that we potentially could be hiring. Nominations Committee is the Secretary's position. Basically, that job is handed over to Dennis this year. Every year we have elections, and he will basically get a group of folks together to make sure that we get good qualified candidates to run for different offices. The Bylaws Committee, the bylaws is basically the rules and regulations that govern our organization. They help set the tone for how we're going to operate, and the Bylaws Committee Chair make sure that our bylaws are correct, up to date, and contemporary. FCC Committee, pretty straightforward. They meet once a month. Some of us meet more to talk about things we're going to do regarding our FCC regulators. Legislative Committee, again, it's a DC activity. What's going on the Hill? You know, what do we need to do? What do we have to say? What's the message we need to get across to our representatives? The State Coordinators Committee is basically each state, except for apparently Delaware and Rhode Island, have a person that sort of represents that state, and they will be the conduit between state issues, state needs, whether it's a regulatory problem in a state, having to do with pole attachments, or it has to do with some kind of disaster, back up to the board so that we can make sure we maintain that communications line. The Government Affairs Committee is what I call a super committee. It's really comprised of the Legislative Committee and the FCC Committee and the Promotions Committee, and that's designed to basically meet and focus our efforts so that everything we're doing in DC is aligned, so that when Elizabeth and Chuck are talking to people about stuff at the Hill, it's in line with what we're telling the folks on the 8th floor at the FCC. This is kind of just a little bit of a structure here. We try to get all of our contractors involved in this so that we make sure everybody's on the same page. Vendor Relations Committee. This committee has been an existing committee that up till now has just been focused on talking to vendors at shows about what their needs are, but we're going to try to enhance this committee a little bit, make it a little bit more a two-way street. They tell us what they want, we tell them what we want, and we try to come meet in the middle. Membership Committee also has to do with trying to identify the needs of our membership, trying to find ways to enhance the value of being a member of WISPA. And under Industry Development, we're going to have that as a super committee. This is a new committee for this year to try to focus those efforts, because when you look at the vendors and you look at the principal members, we all have to kind of make sure that we're in sync to do what's best for everybody to get the most out of being a WISPA member. That's kind of a layout of of how Industry Development Committee will be and the folks that will be involved. And if you notice, Promotion's involved in both committees, so Forbes isn't here, but I make him work pretty hard. Okay, what's going on in DC? I don't know. Do you know? I think that's what's going on in DC. Guys, y'all must be still thinking about last night, because that's some good funny stuff up here. We got the telecom sitting in bed with the government asking for CAF II funding. Actually, we have the DC activity once a year. We have our FCC activities regularly. Some highlights of things that we're focused on right now. One of the bigger things is new spectrum, and Steve will talk about this in more detail at the spectrum update, but the 3550, 3650 bands are being changed. We've gone through an evolutionary process with folks that use that, so I think a lot of you guys know a lot more today about this than you did in the past. But we're still involved on a regular basis. A lot of work still left to do. There's the regulatory side, there's standards, lots of things that WISPA is involved with. We joined the WIN Forum, which is a spin-off of the Software-Defined Radio Group, and they've been working very diligently to define a lot of rules that were not left up to the FCC to assign to this frequency. 5 gigahertz out-of-band emissions proceedings was a hot topic. It still is. WISPA is still involved with that, and We're very supportive of some of the stuff that's going on with our vendor, Ubiquity, who has made some very good recommendations on how we can address this issue. LTEU LAA, how many people have heard about this? Wow. How many people are nervous about this? All right. Yeah, everybody raised their hand. Well, we're on top of it. We're doing what we can. We've got our industry partners. Some of them are bigger than us. Some of them have a lot more at risk than we do with this issue, but we're staying on top of it. We're trying to make sure that our message is heard with our regulators, and I think it is. TV white spaces, still going, not as strong, but it's still going, and I think that come the end of the day, we're going to all start seeing some products soon from some of our vendor members to use this technology. The other thing that is still ongoing is the open internet legal fight, and we're kind of fighting that on both sides of our on FCC and legislative. But on the FCC side, we are engaged with U.S. Telecom, who is another industry group, to try to see some change occur. And our legislative activities. Again, open internet. We're also talking to our representatives. We're beating the pavement on the Hill. Our focus here, however, is a little different. Our focus here is to try to maintain small business exemption. So if you all recall, the open internet rules exempt small business under 100,000 subscribers from certain reporting requirements, and we're trying to keep that as a permanent. We're also on the Hill talking about LTU LAA. We're telling our senators or congressmen or committee chairs, hey, this is a problem. You need to pay attention to it. People are going to lose their internet maybe. Something new, the Political Action Committee, WISPA is working on doing that. Basically, now that we have a heavy hitter lobbyist working with WISPA, we've got to learn the game, learn the rules, and that's one of the things that WISPA needs to get involved with. And kind of still feeling our way through that, but I think in the long term, it's going to allow us to play some of these games up on the Hill like the other guys. And something else that's happening in February, to mark your calendar, see if you're interested, is the Advocacy Day. That was a program started by Forbes when he was the legislative chair, and we've continued that at least twice a year. We go to D.C. in a group, do some education about how to speak to a representative if you need some help. Talk about and develop issues that we're going to try to get the message across to our representatives, and then we go beat feet, hit the cabs, hit the metro, knock on doors, and go see people. And there's our man right there, Eden Recor. He will go knock on anyone's door. Some events happening. WISP America 2016. We're now announced. We're now all solid. It's going to be in Louisville, Kentucky this year, March 14th through the 17th. Some of the vendors here, go ahead and talk to Trina, get your booth secured, and it's going to be at the Louisville Marriott downtown. I've been to Louisville. We've got lots of members in the Louisville area, Kentucky. It should be a great show. All right, well, that is the end of my presentation. Let's see what kind of time we have left. Are we good on time? Do we want to take any questions from the audience about what's going on at WISPA? Wow. Come on. You all have questions. Come on, I know there's people out there got questions. I didn't tell you everything. Okay, we have a question right here.
So what do you folks think about AT&T getting $500 million to compete with us? Is there any reaction about that?
Okay, the question was the feeling of AT&T getting $500 million for...
$77 million for building out broadband fixed wireless.
Are you talking about CAF 2?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm not happy about it, just to start.
How did that happen?
Well, it's a complicated thing, and I'll try to explain it the best I can. Again, I'm not a lawyer, but there was different processes you could go through to challenge the CAF funding. The first CAF had to do with you were proving that you had broadband services, I think of 5 megabits down, 1 megabit up in the proposed funded areas. And many of y'all were able to fight that off. The CAF 2, however, added the telephone and telecommunications component of it. And that one was a tough one because a lot of us out there just do broadband. They let their customer get whatever they want. You know, they make the service available to them. You've got your choice. But in this particular case, the law was that it had to have telephone service. I know that in my case, I was able to do a pretty good job working with my attorney to fight off a lot of CenturyLink areas. However, there were areas that I had service in that they got funding for. And the answer to the question was, well, because you didn't have a customer there. So the law wasn't really on our side, and as far as I know, we don't really have a strong legal argument against any of these funding programs because of the way the law was written for CAF 2 and the challenge processes that they had available. Now, what WISPA has done, and you guys can see that in some of your packets when you picked up your bag, is we're trying to help you with your message to your customers. In my area, where I was actually competing with a government-funded organization, my message was, I'm a local provider, I have service in the areas that were funded, I don't buy their services that they try to sell me, and I tell the government, the local government, and the people in my areas that, you know, this was a waste of money and don't buy their services. And that message seemed to work pretty good. And so we're going to try to extend that to anybody else who wants to do that. So the idea is, you know, buy local, number one, but also don't give in to corporate welfare. You know, buy services from the service provider who's put their own money down. And so we're going to kind of fight it on that term, starve them out. You know, so they're going to get their money. We can't stop that. They are still the phone company. They will screw it up, and you will still get the customers. So that's all I can say about that. Go ahead. Yes, thank you. Anybody else? Come on, I have lots of answers.
Sorry, I just wanted to know who was the heavy-hitting lobbyist.
Beg your pardon?
Who was the heavy-hitting lobbyist you referred to earlier?
Oh, I'm sorry. Ari is our lawyer. Ari Storch is our our lobbyist. And if you're in D.C., he could probably get you tickets to the ball game. Ari, there he is, over there.
And we do have a session at 4:30 today. That's our legislative update, where we come back in this room and he's going to introduce himself and talk a little bit about what he's trying to do for organizations. So it'd be a good time, since we've never really had a lobbyist before. It'd be a great time for everybody to get an idea of what he's about and what he's doing.
Yeah, I mean, lobbying is, you know, it's a very important part of what WISPA does. I mean, we are a 501c6, you know, nonprofit lobby organization. So, you know, we do lobby work, and sometimes the lobby work we do is, you know, you and I telling our stories, but we're not really, you know, political. We're not, you know, we're not savvy to the ins and outs of D.C. And you know, honestly, you know, politics is one of those things that I don't like. I have to do it. You know, I am on the board of directors, and politics is part of life in organizations. But when it comes right down to it, we really needed somebody who understood D.C., had relationships with folks, understood, you know, what other people are interested in to kind of help us navigate the waters out there and find our way to where we need to be. Well, I should have talked longer. Does anybody have any questions about the committee structures or anything going on in any of the committees? Eden? What's the financial status of WISPA? Oh, well, the treasurer's down there, but I'll just tell you what I know. WISPA is very good financially. We are We seem to be spending within our means. We seem to be growing at a pretty good pace, thanks to you guys. And it enables us to do more stuff that I think hopefully will benefit all the membership. I know that our focus has been a lot on DC as of late, and that's really, those are the only people that seem to be trying to screw with us. But the other side of the coin that I think is important is, what can WISPA do to make your businesses better? Because if you do better, we do better. If you grow, we grow. And creating better value of being a WISPA member will enable folks to make that decision. Because I know, I talk to people. I've been there. I was, I've been in this business since, I've been in the internet business since 1995. I was the dial-up guy, and it was a big surprise to me how popular it became. I just thought it'd be something fun to do. Didn't have to go to the man, work for him anymore, sit in my office, play video games, look at stuff on the internet, get money. It was great. Then in, I guess in 2001, broadband started to creep in. What's that? Well, I don't want to dial up anymore. I want it to be faster. And, there's a lot of guys out there that are just starting out. Guys, gals, sorry, I don't want to be incorrect politically. But, it's a tough call when you're busting your butt, making ends meet, trying to get your business going, to join an organization. That's a lot of money. So why do I want to do that? Well, I have some examples. I know a fellow that started his internet business about the same time in the 90s that I did. And he didn't sell his. I sold mine in 2000. I took the money and dumped it into this business. So he's been in this business, though, as long as I have, and is not a WISPA member. I met him at one of the state shows last week. And it was funny because I knew him. I didn't know too much about him. I didn't know his personal life, and I didn't know a whole lot about his business, but I listened to him ask questions. And the first thing that popped into my head was he's not a WISPA member. Because if he was, he wouldn't have asked that question. And that's really important, because when you're starting off and you are trying to do things cost effectively, the one thing you don't want to do is waste money, waste time, waste your efforts, waste customers on something that you should have known or could have learned from, a session here or the membership list there. So I went to him and I said, you got to join WISPA. Well, his answer was, well, I just can't afford it. Well, I said, if you were a WISPA member, maybe you could afford it. Because you'd be doing a lot better and you wouldn't be doing. And, there's a laundry list of things he was doing, and I don't want to pick on him, but, it's just a fellow that I know, and he's in my state, and, I know all of you probably know somebody like that. Y'all, I could probably pick 10 people here, and all of y'all know at least one company that's either in your state or somebody you met at some other place who's not a WISPA member, and he would really benefit from being a WISPA member. Now, maybe he's your competitor. Okay, well, maybe you don't want him to be a WISPA member then, because better that he screw up. But, that's not exactly true, because, and Nathan said this to me once, and I don't know where he is now, but he likes to see his neighbor companies do well, and his interest is that, if they do better and they do their internet business, like they're supposed to, when they're ready to sell, he's got a nice business to buy. And so maybe you should look at things that way, because you all have to grow, you all have to get bigger. It's not a hobby. I don't know, some of you might think it is, but eventually the missus is going to say, hey, this ain't a hobby, is it? When are you going to get a job? Because I know my wife said that to me many times. And I came to some hard decisions many years ago and said, well, yeah, this isn't a hobby, this is a business, and I decided I'm going to make this happen. And I guess that was about 2008 when I joined WISPA and decided to start, listening to what you guys were doing, listening to what people were doing, what's the right way to do this business, because I surely wasn't doing it the right way. And I've learned so much. And I feel really grateful now for making that choice. And I also feel grateful for making the commitment to, join the board and get involved with, the efforts. Because, it's nothing more frustrating than to think that, everybody's against you in government, or, your local town organizations are not really supportive of you. And when you can get together in a room like this, and just being with other people that are in the same boat as you gives you that energy you need to go back and take it on, make it happen. Don't let them tell you what you can't do. You go do what you want to do.
Hey, Alex,
Yes.
over here. It's all good. Little known fact.
Oh,
I'm
here we go.
I'm
There's
a
our
state
man.
coordinator, and I want to let everybody know that there are state lists. It's a little known fact. Every state has got a list in WISPA. I know a lot of people aren't even aware that there are mailing lists, because I've kind of been interrogating everybody. Find the state list that is for your state, join it, and talk to the other WISPs that are in your area, and learn. If you're not aware that that's there, it's a resource that's available for you.
Right. The state lists, originally were designed as a way to communicate state problems, and we've got lots of state lists, and not all of them are members on that state list. But I've tasked Jimmy Carr, who has got a very strong background in state government, and I can tell you that's an important thing in my opinion, because WISPA is a national organization, and we cannot get involved in everybody's state problems. But we do want to make sure that you get involved, and we want to make sure we help you resolve those things. And so each state will have their own. And I encourage every state coordinator that's here today to have a meeting once a month. You don't have to have a show. You don't have to have a grand event at a hotel. Just go to the IHOP and have some bacon, have some eggs, have some pancakes, have some coffee, and talk about stuff. And do that until next time, now that the IHOP's too big or too small and you need more space, and now you've got 10 or 20 WISPs in the state getting together, and now all of a sudden now you need to get that hotel, or you need to go meet at the state capitol at the state legislator's office and get a free room, and everybody chip in to buy lunch, and then you start talking to the governor's staff and the technology of secretary, or whoever it is that is in charge of screwing up broadband in your state, and tell them what you think they should do. And then before you know it, now they're asking you what to do, and things change and they get better.
Mr. President,
Yes.
liked your presentation. Just really specifically, what is WISPA going to do to bring in that, what would it be, 3 out of 4 people that are WISPA operators that are not members of WISPA? Really specifically, if you can share 1 or 2 ideas.
Well, the bottom line is we have to understand is why do they not feel that being a WISPA member is important to them? And so I'm sure that everyone has their reasons. The number one reason we hear about is that you can't afford it. Well, I think that's a pretty easy one to knock down if given the opportunity to talk about it. How many people here in this room read the mailing list daily? Okay? Well, the rest of them are probably in bed hungover. So, but the mailing list is probably the number one thing I think I say to people, because like this fella down in my state that's not a member asking all the dumb questions, he could have gotten those answers on the mailing list. So we tell them that. But there's other things that people need to understand. And I think that sometimes folks that are in this business feel that the national issue isn't really theirs, but they do have state issues. And I think that with Jimmy Carr's help and working with the state coordinators, we're going to try to drill down, and we're going to lend our organizational support to say to these state people, okay, we want to help you. We can't do it for you, but we can frame it up. We can give you the tools. We can give you the information. We've got, I mean, when I go talk to my state people, I'm in a room with Comcast and Cox Cable and telephone companies, and they've been talking to the state people since the beginning of time. And then I show up, and all of a sudden now I'm giving them a different message. I'm saying to them, I don't want your money. Why don't you work with a WISPA operator in your area? Why don't you see if you can't get a WISPA operator to come build service in that area? You know, because a lot of these states don't have money and don't really want to go through the effort of getting them. So I think the message I'm trying to say is that we want to try to help enable those issues that a person or operator may feel, which is at home in their state, resolve first. And if we can help that either by educating at a show, just giving advice, enabling them to group up together as a state group, that's what we're going to do. And hopefully that will bridge the gap in some areas that we're not really hitting right now.
Very good. Thank you very much, Alex. That was great.
Thank you, everybody. Hey, have a great show.
So now we have lunch, and the expo hall will be open.
Thank you for listening to ISP Radio. We hope you've gained new insights and additional wisdom in our industry as well as your business. Please remember to visit our show sponsors via the links on ispradio.com. If you're interested in becoming a show sponsor, contact us at sales@ispradio.com. Now go out there and push those packets as fast as you can. Good luck and Godspeed. Thank you for listening to ISP Radio. We hope you've gained new insights and additional wisdom in our industry as well as your business. Please remember to visit our show sponsors via the links.